Maybe I'll put some spectacles on, put the heat gun to it, or wrap it around. I'm gonna give these little oven mitts a try. Shh. And your overflow, that kind of thing. I don't have an overflow. See, normally they're waiting for me. They see me and then that's when they go. But now they're having to discover it on their own without me. Look at them go crazy. Oh, you know what the other thing's gonna happen on this is I'm gonna have to schedule my pump. Not the wave maker that's over on the right hand side, but I have a hidden sponge filter on the left side behind that cliff. And I'm gonna have to schedule that to turn off before this feeder comes on, which I can do, but I'm gonna have to remember to do that. That's why some of the food's getting sucked over into that corner. And it's probably gonna get sucked up into the sponges, those big giant sponges that are back there, and I'm gonna end up having to clean them out. So the best thing to do is to get that pump to turn off for 10 minutes, let the fish feeder come on, and then let it come back on at the end of those 10 minutes. Maybe I'll schedule it to stay off a little bit longer. But definitely gonna have to play with these settings. Look at them go, they're eating, and I didn't walk up to the aquarium, so they're not associating me with food anymore. Except when I feed the little baby brine shrimp, which they love so much. So I don't know if I'm ever gonna kick them of the Pavlov habit. Something that I'm noticing about the feeder and using flakes is that the food, it's working really flawlessly, but the food kind of stays floating at the top. Normally what I'll do is I'll take the food with these and then I'll just dunk it in the water and shake it around. And I've always done that out of habit, but I forgot why I did it. The reason that I did it is to get the food into the water column. And so what's happening now is the food floats along the top and then they all kind of go to the surface. All the fish go to the surface over here in the corner. Some of the food is ending up on top of the cliff. It's not really getting into the water column, which means some of these guys that live over here in this nice little warm area, the gobies, the firefish gobies, they're not getting as much of the food as I'd like them to. So what I'm gonna do, I've seen feeder rings and feeder tubes and all that kind of stuff. I think I'm just gonna take this, was this a salt container? Just a plastic container. I'm gonna try and make one out of this. Let's see how I do. I have no idea if it's gonna work or not. How's that blade? Maybe I'll put some spectacles on. Usually a blade like this is the best way to approach cutting it, and then now I can take, now that it's open, I can take some scissors to it and clean it up. So this part will go into the water. Now what my thought is that I'll take some of it and wrap it around so that it kind of latches onto the side of the tank. So what I need to do is measure. Always a difficult decision. Actually, what am I going to do? I only want this much inside the tank and I'm cutting this off. So what I want to do is swing down here and cut this off, right? Okay, grab some scissors. So now we have this, and I'm going to bend this around the tank. Probably going to cut this off. Final model. And so now I just am going to put this on top of the tank inside, put the heat gun to it, or wrap it around. And let's see where we end up. Let's check this out, see how it works. That's kind of just the right size. It floats right there. And that's just underwater. I'll back it up to this little brace across there. Let me move this out of the way. I don't want to melt that. It occurred to me, maybe I should have gloves on. I'm gonna give these little oven mitts a try. Shh. There we go. It almost wants to stay on there by itself. This is not a very pretty sight on the other side, but look at that. Let's put the food in there. It's definitely below water. My only fear is the wave maker is gonna knock it off for now. Hit the button. Well. That's pretty good. I'll show you what it looks like below level. See how the food's just kind of floating up there. And then when it gets waterlogged, it drops down into the water column here. If I go and look at the top is still above water, but you see it's pulling pretty hard. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut about 1/2 of an inch off of that and see what happens. All right, so I cut maybe 1/2 an inch off, maybe 3/8 of an inch, but it's definitely not pulling as much as it was because it's not offering up all that resistance to the water flow. I could probably cut some more, but I'm just gonna leave it there for the day and see what happens. I mean, if it drops in the water, who cares, right? Cool. My final thoughts on this here fish feeder. It was just last week that I posted part 1, and it's actually been about 2 months in between now that I'm finishing and editing part 2. And it's definitely a thumbs up on this fish feeder. Get the Wi-Fi, don't get the name brand, don't waste your money. This thing is working great. Now the problem I ran into, this fox face. We see here that I'm using this feeding ring deal here. That kind of helps. Here, let me do a quick feed. We'll see what happens there. Fox face is the first one to see. You'll see him go in there. And boy, he goes to town. He kind of brings the food down into the rest of the tank, but he's getting nice and juicy. Let me tell you. I'm not sure if he's getting as much bubble algae as he had been prior to installing this thing. Yeah, I don't know how to get around that. If I take it off, take it out of the situation, oh look, there's still some food in there that he didn't get. Eventually it kind of falls. You know what I haven't done? I have not played around with its location in proximity to the wave maker. And I'm wondering if that might help. I'm going to play around with that a little bit. Can we play with it right now? I've just put this in a location that is creating a lot of turbulence inside there. This is where the wave maker jettisons the water. So let's take a look and see if that does anything. That actually might work. So if I don't use the feeding ring, then that food just floats across the top, and fox face and sailfin, the small sailfin, are usually the only ones up at the top getting it. If I do just the feeding ring, foxface gets in there and eats like half of it, but the other half does fall. That's looking like that kind of worked. So thumbs up on the ring, put it where there's a lot of turbulence, and that's going to draw the food down. That's if you have a problem like the foxface. If you don't have a fish that eats up off the surface, then don't worry about it. It'll eventually fall in the water column, and these guys will get it. But definitely the feeding ring is going to help to allow that food to fall down the bottom rather than end up in the sides or in your overflow, that kind of thing. I don't have an overflow, but if you do, that's what can happen if the food just floats along the surface. That's if you're feeding flake food. But even pellet food can float along the surface. at least the pellet food that I have. So, big thumbs up. I can't really think of anything else to say about this, but yeah, cool.
I was wondering why that ball kept getting bigger, and then it hit me.